All right, hey, music lovers, welcome to Musical Miles Podcast. I am your host, Byron Duffin, and we are here with Mr. Doug Figs.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Well, nice to meet you, Byron.
Hey, thanks for taking the time out of your schedule and stopping by to sit down with us. We are here at the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, Nevada.
Yes.
So this is such a cool event, and it is all about cowboy heritage and the Western way of life, right?
Yeah, we're definitely proud to be here.
Yeah, well, we're thankful you took the time to sit down with us. So tell me a little bit. You're from Limitar, New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
Which is south of Albuquerque, and it's kind of in between that and Las Cruces.
That's right.
And the big news is you're a certified farrier.
Yes, I am.
Does that mean you're certifiable? Because
Yeah,
here's the deal.
Anybody that would do that I get that.
I did it myself, so I can
Did
relate.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
so I went to Oklahoma Horseshoe School 4 years ago, something like that. Long time ago, 1981. Yeah, I went to Horseshoe School in Oklahoma City, the old big red barn right along the interstate there in Oklahoma City. And I didn't do it to become a professional horseshoer. I went to Horseshoe School to become a better horseman. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You know, I agree. I agree with that. That's what, that's kind of what I was doing, but then it just kind of took off.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was interesting. When I went to Horseshoe School in the 80s, we got through the school and kind of got to the end, and they said, "Oh, now here's the tricky part. What do we charge for this service, right?" And the old horseshoer looked at us and he said, let me tell you the best advice I can give you. He said, unless your customer grabs his heart and takes 2 steps back, you ain't charged him enough. So, but I never really did it for a full-time living, but trust me, I fed my wife and kids when times were tough, and it was great to have that skill set. And then when I had kids rodeoing and we had all them horses to shoe, I couldn't afford to have them always shod, so sometimes I had to. But it's hard on your back.
Well,
that would be tough.
Yeah, it's a little. My initial deal was to be able to shoe my own horses. So.
Right.
And, my wife Kathy could already shoot. She was shoeing horses.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
And I was shoeing horses, but
Right.
I really didn't know exactly what I was doing. I went to school in Tukum Carry.
Okay.
New Mexico, yeah.
I love that town.
Yeah.
We actually stopped in Tukum Carry.
Mm-hmm.
I've used that line a million times. I said, yeah,
Carry,
I've been to Tukum. You ever been to Tukum Carry, New Mexico? Well, I finally got to go there in October. We went on a road trip for the podcast to Texas and Oklahoma to do interviews with artists in Texas and Oklahoma. And we started in Lubbock at Cook's Garage and interviewed a band there, and then we spent 2 weeks down there. But we stopped in Tukum Carry and got gas, and took a picture of the sign. So, and the other thing I remember about Tukum Carry, New Mexico, is what was his name? Randall's had a ranch over there, and they owned I used to ride cutters, and he owned a horse called Smooth Herman. I don't know if you ever heard of that horse, but
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he was a jet smooth, I want to say, and they cut on him. So anyway, but Tukum Carry was on my bucket list, and I finally scratched it off.
There you go.
So, but you are a singer-songwriter. Been at this for a little bit. I think I read 2011 was when you really kind of.
Yeah, it's actually the first song I wrote. In 2011.
2011. So you're also part of a trio called the Cowboy Way.
That's right.
Yeah. So so who really influenced you, Doug? What really got you started? First of all, let me back up. We got to know: were you born playing the guitar, or did your mom teach you? Your dad? How'd that happen?
My dad was a musician.
Okay.
I mean, nothing. All he did was he was a self-taught musician. He played everything. And there was always music in our house. He played guitar, he played the fiddle, he played the piano, he played the mandolin, banjo, anything that was, and he taught himself to do the whole thing. So he never was, it was just just for fun.
Could he
at
read
home.
music, or was it
No,
all by ear?
No, he
all by
he
ear.
couldn't read music, and neither can I, which I'm not I'm not proud of that, and I think it would help me a lot if I did. But
I think it
I
would
might be too
surprise you
old.
how many artists don't read
Yeah.
music.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Paul McCartney.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Play by ear. Shanda's mom was a songwriter
Yeah.
in Arizona, where she grew up, and she couldn't read music,
Yeah.
but she could play anything. You hum her a few bars, and she could take it from there. So your dad was kind of your inspiration as far as the instrument goes.
Yeah.
And do you play anything other than the guitar?
Yeah, I started playing the fiddle.
Oh,
Because my dad played the fiddle, and I really wanted to. I played for quite a while. I don't even know if I could pick it up anymore, but I do. Also play the banjo.
okay.
Which I don't know if you're supposed to admit to that or not, but
Oh, I don't know. I love a good banjo. I wouldn't even know where to start.
there's a lot of banjo jokes.
Oh, I'm sure there is.
yeah.
Well, yeah, especially that Aintree, Georgia stuff, right? Deliverance.
Yeah.
So your dad kind of inspired you as far as the instrument playing.
Right.
But what really inspired you musically?
My sister, she was actually very good on the guitar, beautiful voice, and she had these records of the Marshall Tucker Band, and that was I loved the Marshall Tucker Band, and they were, I remember seeing the pictures of them. I never got to actually see them, but they were back in the 70s and stuff. They wore those big big bull rider hats. That was the deal. And boy, I
Charlie
wanted one of
Daniels,
those. Oh,
yeah, that Southern rock. And I read that
Exactly.
about you, or I
Yeah.
saw you somewhere about the
Yeah.
Southern rock. So Marshall Tucker, I'm a huge Marshall Tucker fan.
Yeah.
So Desert Skies,
Desert Skies.
I love that song, and that has been the lullaby to my children.
Ah.
I sang
Yep.
that to every one of our kids when they couldn't sleep, when they were babies.
Mm.
I've sung it to my grandchildren. Our children sang it to me on my 50th birthday party. The band played it, and they sang it to me. And we call it the cowboy song.
Yeah.
Because I'm riding along singing that same old cowboy song. And I just love that song. But I love Marshall Tucker. How about you talk Southern rock? So Skinner, you got to
Exactly,
be
of
you
course.
got to love Skinner. How
Allman
about
Brothers?
Yeah, Allman Brothers.
Yes. I like Poco too.
Oh
you know,
yeah,
and-
Poco's
and all
great. We
those.
love Poco.
Yeah, I mean that's what I grew up on, and
We got to be about the same age. So,
yeah,
how old are you, Doug?
64.
Oh, we're exactly the same
There
age.
you
I
go.
just turned 64 in January.
Yeah.
So we grew up in the 70s, and
Yeah.
listened to Creedence and the Eagles and
Oh,
America and all those great rock bands. Molly Hatchet. Did you ever listen to Molly Hatchet?
Not so much.
Flirting with Disaster. That's a great song. Yeah. I love that Southern rock too, so I can relate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, you've been writing music since 2011, which is really not that long considering your age and our age,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
So
I loved music all the time. I mean, I loved it my whole life, and I tried to play, and I was mostly kind of either taught by my brother, my sister, my dad, and then finally, kind of, I took lessons with one of the guys in the Cowboy Way.
Okay.
And his name's Mariam Funka.
Okay.
And best musician I've ever been around.
Okay.
And that just opened so many doors to me, and I always thought that writing songs was just that mysterious thing that I couldn't do, and actually the Western Music Association had a workshop, and that was in 2011, I believe, and songwriting, and I thought, maybe I can do it. And so that's when I started, and Mariam's helped me so much on that kind of stuff. And
it seemed like that you learned something from that, because you've got some pretty big accolades and awards, and probably too many to mention, but I'm going to mention a few of them. you were Entertainer of the Year in 23.
Yes, well, that was that was
That's
amazing.
That's the International Western
Yes.
Music Association,
That's right.
not the CMAs.
No.
No, but
No,
that's
it's
still
not.
cool.
It's
It's a very very notable. And in 22, you had Album of the Year with Yellow Horse.
Mm-hmm.
That congratulations
Thank you.
there. In 21 you were the Male Performer of the Year and Group of the Year with Cowboy Way. So that's pretty cool. So that's just just some highlights of your awards and accolades, but very notable, and that's cool.
Well, thank you.
So you've written, is it 6 albums?
I'd have to count. Something like that.
Okay.
I don't know. I'd have to count.
Okay. Well, in my notes here says All Because of You. Is that was that the first one?
Yeah, well, that was the first one with my songs.
Okay.
Yes.
Partners.
Partners.
Is that another album? Full
Yes,
album? Yeah.
Yes.
And then
Cowboy Like-
Cowboy Like Me.
Yes.
Thinking of You with Mickey Daniel.
I did that, yeah, with Mickey Daniel.
Yellow Horse.
Yellow Horse.
And One More Ride.
And one more ride, and I'm working on one right now.
Working on another one right
Yes,
now.
yes.
Okay. So let me ask you about that songwriting process. So do you like to collaborate, or you
Oh, I
like
love
to
it.
do? You love that. Okay.
Because I get to write songs with people that really I am. They're my heroes,
Sure.
and it's really really cool.
Yeah.
I've been able to write. I've written 3 songs with Andy Renfrey,
Okay.
and she was one of the writers of Buffalo Grass
Okay.
that Chris Ledoux did.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's just been really
Yeah.
really amazing to me to just to work with some of these people that everybody does it different too. It's
Oh, I'm
just
sure.
amazing.
Well, it's very interesting to me to ask this question because I try and ask it of everyone. Not everyone's a songwriter. You know, some people cut a lot of other people's songs, right? But the songwriter thing is really intriguing to me. More so, we got to go to some songwriter festivals this last year in Livingston, Montana, and Whitefish. Now, most of these, not most of them, about half of them are Nashville or Austin-based, but hit makers. These are people who have written for Garth Brooks,
Right.
you know, Cody Johnson, for those who are on country radio today, and those and in the past. I mean, some of these were written for the Oak Ridge Boys and for Merle Haggard and for Johnny Cash and Waylon. So those, they've got big long careers, and but it's been interesting because some of them are very much involved in the collaboration process, and others are it's a very private individual. Dave Stamey sat in the chair this morning. He said, "No, this is me. I'm very particular about how I write and what I do." And he says not that he hasn't collaborated some, but it's not really something that he looks forward to. I think, I would imagine if somebody came along and said, "Hey, would you," and he liked him and he thought he might get something, he might do it. But it's not what he gets out of bed in the morning thinking about.
Dave is he's one that everybody looks up to.
Oh, what a
for his
talented
songwriting.
talented
Right?
guy. And we're so blessed. We're so fortunate to get to sit with all of you. He said the songwriting process was very personal to him. And so, and we've been fans of Dave's for a long, long time and listened to a lot of his music, and it's just interesting to hear those stories, kind of the backstories about their songs. So, tell me one of your favorite songs and a little bit of a backstory. What motivated you to write it? Have you got one?
Yeah,
You got to have a hundred.
Sure,
of
I got it. Some of my favorite songs may not be the most popular songs.
Sure.
One of them that I really like is called "Those Old Days."
Okay.
And I always say that my inspiration for this song was finding out all of a sudden that the ground is much harder than it used to be.
I can relate.
And so this song, it just it's really, I've got friends that are just cowboys. I mean, they are straight up cowboys, and they really like this one, and I like it too because it's just there's you have these memories of what you used to do and some of the things you did, and maybe a horse that you'd ridden, and you know, and it became such a great horse, and then that horse isn't here anymore. I mean, you know, you spend all this time with this horse, and then all this time goes by, and you don't realize it goes by like that. And that's
what's the title of that
Those
song?
Old Days.
Those Old Days. I'm gonna have to go listen to that one, because I can relate. We've owned some really, really nice horses, and had some that went on to do some big things, and you hope that you had a little part in that. But I always said, you know what? I think great horses are great in spite of the trainers that get them.
I think that's true.
And I really believe that, because I rode some great horses, and no thanks to me, they turned out to be pretty dang good horses.
You know, I've been privileged to work on and with some really, really fine horses, and not just Western or cowboy horses or anything. A lot of jumpers and dressage horses, and I mean they're all horses.
Yes. Oh yeah.
No matter what, and they all have some of the same things, but then they're just different.
Well, they're like people, right?
Yeah,
We're all a little bit
exactly.
different. You know, that's what makes life interesting. How boring would it be if we were all the same? Yeah.
And that's what kind of keeps me going, keeps me shoeing horses. I say it's a lot harder now. I can.
How many horses you shoe in a year, do you think?
Well, when I started, I was shoeing about 1,500 horses a year. Now it's probably I don't know, less than a third of that. I'm just not doing as much, and I'm trying to.
Well, you're traveling
do the
and you're playing more.
Yeah. I'm pretty selective right now on what horses I do.
Oh, I'm sure. Well, yeah, and it's not. Yeah. There's like Miss Shanda says, you know, Will Rogers said, nothing better for the inside of a man than the outside of a horse.
Absolutely.
And we don't even own a horse anymore, and which is sad, but you know what? We did a lot. You know, we've been really blessed and owned some really nice horses, and rode some really nice horses for customers, and met a lot of great people because of the horse world and because of the music, right? And it all kind of comes together. You know, we were in Vegas for the NFR in December. Miss Shanda works for Stetson Clothing Company down there. It has for 18 years at the NFR, and we went down and did a bunch of interviews for the podcast. And, you know, people are like, yeah, this is about rodeo. And I said, no, you can't have a rodeo without music. Can't be done. You know, it just absolutely can't be done.
That's right.
And I used to announce rodeos, and I used to announce a bunch of USTRC ropings and Wrangler team ropings, and you can't do it without music. And so, and we used I used to pick the music for the high school rodeos, announce a lot of high school rodeos. And I let those kids, you know, they'd come up and say, hey, Byron, would you play Disturbed for me in the steer wrestling? Absolutely. Yeah. You know, what will you play Flirting with Disaster in the bull riding for me? You know, I mean, it was fun to let those kids kind of pick their music. Now, today, it'd be a lot easier. Back then, I had about 3,000 songs on my laptop, and I had to do a little bit of work. Today, it'd be a lot easier. You just push the button, and you know, you can pick whatever you want. But, which is really, the music industry's changed a lot. We talked with a lot of the artists about the streaming. You know, because, yeah, I mean, you know, that's how your music is available, and I'm sure you use the streaming services. But are you printing CDs and vinyl, or you do any vinyls?
No
vinyls.
I haven't done any vinyls. You know, I'm still gonna make some CDs, I think, but not as much as I used to, because we still sell some.
Yeah.
I'm so far behind on understanding the streaming and all of that. I really just don't know.
We just had a great conversation with Brent Hill about that, you know, and you know, being a songwriter for the last 30 years. He owns a lot of the publishing rights and stuff, his own music. And, of course, he wrote the song One Hand in the Riggin' that Ned just released with the duet with his dad. And he told us the story. And, wow, what a great story. But there's the music industry is very complicated when it comes to the, collecting money for it. unless you're actually going to an event, selling a ticket, and then handing somebody a CD and stuff. I was at a songwriter festival in Livingston, Montana, and a songwriter by the name of Stephanie Quayle. I was visiting with her after their show, and she said, "Byron, did you get some CDs?" And I said, "Stephanie, I don't think I have a CD player anymore." She goes, "Well, here, you need to take them anyway." I'm like, "Stephanie, what am I going to do with it?" But we do have we found we did have a CD player in the house. Yeah, Walt Wilkins, same deal. I mean, he's like giving out CDs because they made them, and a lot of the guys we interview, but vinyl has kind of made a resurgence, but Dave, we talked about that with Dave. Dave said, "I'm not doing vinyl." So he said, "I have a hard time charging $35 for a vinyl record, and it's expensive to have them pressed." Yeah. So
Dave just sent me a CD, so so he's still doing some CDs.
Well,
so.
It was it Dave made the comment. He says, yeah, those guys had to wreck their old truck with the 8-track player so they could get a new CD player in it.
That's right.
But you can't buy a new car with a CD player in it.
No. We
did
last year.
Okay.
Our new car did have a CD player in it.
Okay.
But that was 24, so 25.
That's a whole nother story. Yeah, they hide them.
We
We actually, Shanda, she had a car for, I don't know, 2 or 3 years before we even knew there was a CD player in it. It was in the glove box. Yeah, kind of hid in the glove box. But anyway, well, so about how many dates are you playing a year, Doug?
Oh gosh, what I probably about 100.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yeah, that's
Pretty
close. Plenty. That's about one every 3 days.
I still have to, and you get to, that's about right.
Okay. So, how many years have you been here to the poetry gathering?
This is my second year.
Second year.
Yes.
Okay. So you didn't come before you were invited.
No.
Okay.
We never made it, and we should have. Kathy's from over there. Steamboat.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, she's Nevada all the way.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You had never been to Elko, had you?
Had you now? Did you grow up in Lemitar where you're at?
No. I'm from Arizona. I'm mostly.
Where at?
Prescott is where I was born, and then I went to high school in Springerville. And,
you know where she's from?
What's that? Oh, I am.
She's from Sholo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Shanda grew up in Sholo, Arizona. Was born in Scottsdale, grew up in Sholo. Her dad was a cement contractor and poured mud all over that mountain and built bridges and contractor for the Fort Apache Timber Company. We met in college in Idaho but love Arizona. Arizona is such a cool place, and so we still have some roots there. I have a brother who lives in Whitman, and Shanda's sister lives in the East Valley in Mesa, and so we try and get down there every once in a while.
We got lots of relatives in Arizona still.
Do you?
Yeah, but New Mexico.
Yeah,
seems to be where we're probably going to be.
How long have you lived over there?
Gosh, since 1987.
Oh wow, you've been there a long time.
That's the longest I've ever lived anywhere in my whole life.
Well, we moved back to Idaho from Arizona. We were talking about this yesterday, wasn't it? Driving up 87. We moved back from Arizona. We lived in the valley in Gilbert. Moved back to Idaho in 87. And we lived in my grandpa's place, ended up with a 40-acre farm there, and then sold that and moved to Shelley, Idaho. And we've been there 21 years. I spent, longest we ever lived anywhere. The first 5 years we were married, we moved 11 times. We moved because I was riding cutting horses, and so we're bouncing from Arizona to Idaho, back and forth, California, and we kind of landed everywhere, and then I had to go get a real job. that riding horses for a living that's a tough way to make a living.
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, all I ever did, I rode a lot of colts.
Yeah.
And just started a lot of horses, but I never really did much.
But it give you the life experience, right? Give you some thoughts to write songs about,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
and it give you good material.
We do use horses. I mean, we use them with cattle.
Sure,
cow work and
sure,
stuff, yeah.
sure.
But yeah.
Well, we're too old to be starting colts anymore, Doug. I don't know about you. You're probably tougher than me, but last time I got bucked off a colt, I said, that's the end of that for me.
Yeah.
I'm too old for this.
Yeah, that's what those old days is all about.
yeah, exactly. Those old days, that's true. We ain't as tough as we used to think we were.
Used to be able to do,
yeah.
right?
Well, if we knew we was going to live this long, we'd have took better care of ourselves.
Yeah, and the whole thing, though, was like when you were 18 years old, you pretty much knew everything.
Yeah.
At that time.
Right.
And
right.
so,
Right. Yeah, isn't it funny how dumb we got the older we
I
got?
know.
Yeah. Well, so quick question:
Yeah.
who would you love to collaborate with, dead or alive? Let's go dead first, and then we'll go alive.
Dead would be, oh gosh, some of those, like, I'm trying to think of if they are dead.
If I know, I'll tell you.
See, George McCorkle from the Marshall Tucker Band. I just
Okay,
thought, man.
they're all dead, but Doug Gray. Doug Gray's the only living
Doug
member.
Gray.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I that was cool.
Actually, got his autograph on my
Excellent.
which album is it? It's Carolina Dreamin'. Yeah, I've had that since which has my favorite song on there. Yeah.
I still have my. It says Sandy on it because that's my sister.
Oh,
It was
okay.
hers.
It was hers.
I have her album.
Yeah. We have some of those old vinyl albums that we kept around since we were young kids, before the cassette tapes and before 8-track even. So yeah, my dad and we were talking about this the other day. My dad had an incredible collection of the Sons of the Pioneer and Eddie Arnold and Ray Price and Sonny, Sonny James. I mean, just had some great. Who? Marty Robbins. Yeah, such great. And I asked my younger brother there, because our parents are gone, and I said, hey, where's Mom and Dad's record collection? I don't know. I wish I knew where it was at, because we could sure get a lot of enjoyment out of it. But anyway, we still got a bunch of our own stuff. We got to probably sit down and listen to that stuff, huh?
Exactly.
Don't you still have Blondie and some of that stuff? Yeah. Yeah, she was the disco queen right there. So she's got it all. She's got a little Donna Summer. Yeah, I've got Pink Floyd. I've got a little bit of everything.
It's all great stuff.
Yeah, anyway. Well, so you drove up, didn't you?
Yes.
How many hours?
We spent 15 hours because our we should have been at least an hour less than that, but our worst part was in Grants, New Mexico.
Shanda's niece lives in Grants.
So hard. I couldn't see. I mean, you just had to get behind a trucker. And we were going about 35 miles an hour.
Was it snowing?
It was snowing hard.
Oh, really?
Oh, my goodness. And then I was worried about Gallup. By the time we got to Gallup, it was all good. And then coming up to Shiprock.
Oh, yeah.
It started snowing again.
Yeah, those are the areas I don't want to break down in. Yeah.
That interstate is horrible.
We've covered that country quite a bit. That's the way we went when we went to Texas.
Yeah.
We stayed in Grants at her niece's, and then we went on to Lubbock. We've got to do that trip again, because there's so much musical history in Lubbock just by itself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, well, cool. Well, okay, so we talked about the guys that are dead, right? Mm-hmm. What about living? Who would you like to collaborate with?
Willie Nelson is still alive.
Oh, and have you seen Willie? Have you ever seen him live?
I saw him once.
Us too. One time in Vegas.
And it's just, and he can do anything.
Yeah.
I don't know. He can sit there just by himself.
Yeah.
and make the coolest stuff. And then he can be with a big full
Yeah, the family.
deal.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw him with Bobby before she passed in Vegas. But he opened, Lucas, his son Lucas, opened for him. And if you've listened to Lucas, he sounds just like his dad.
Wow.
And can really play. Yeah, so, well, that's cool. Well, listen, we appreciate you taking the time. It's it's a busy week, weekend. This is such a cool event. It's so historical that, and their goal here is to keep the Western Way of life alive. And
we're so proud to be here. It seemed like that I could not get in here. I could not get here. And all of a sudden,
here you are.
Here we are.
Well, what an honor to be invited.
Absolutely. That's what I say.
What an honor to be invited.
It truly is to me.
Yeah.
And gosh, I was here last year and I thought, I got to be here. And then when I got the call to
come back
again, I was like, "Whoa."
You must have really done something good, Doug. Well, that's cool.
I didn't make anybody too mad, I guess.
Well, that's always the upside if you can come in and not make anybody mad. Well, Doug, reach back and grab that TETON guitar for me and play us a song. Kind of set it up. Tell me which one you're going to sing.
Oh, no, I don't want to do. I'm going to do one of my songs. I'm going to do one of my newest songs.
Okay, tell me a little bit about it.
Tim Cox.
Yeah, the artist.
Fantastic artist.
Yes.
He has a painting that's called "Storm on the Mountain."
Okay.
And I wrote a song for that.
Okay.
And I got to play it for Tim.
Oh,
which
fun.
was so cool.
Yeah.
But it's called "Storm on the Mountain."
Cool.
Well, let me tell you about where we live, Limitar, and this fits so good with that because we're right on the coming down to the river. Basically, our
Which
the
river?
Rio Grande.
The Rio. Okay.
And like our farm is really close, but we've got mountains to the west of us.
Okay.
They're called the Polvaderas, which is it's really I love going up there, but we can be at our place and you can watch the storm come over the mountain, and man, it just looks so dark, and you can see the raindrops bouncing off the ground, and you're thinking, man, we're going to get something really cool.
Right.
And it disappears.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes it makes it.
Okay.
And we get some rain.
All right.
Trying to make a go in this desert sand. It may not seem like much, but those cows, they wear our brand. Praying for just a little rain to get us by, waiting on that promise from the sky. There's a storm out on the mountain now, we could sure use a little rain. 'Cause water means life to this high desert plain. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she loved me anyway. Now we work this place together, determined to make it pay. I can hear the far-off thunder, lightning flashes in between. And if that storm don't weaken, it's gonna turn this desert green. There's a storm out on the mountain now, we could sure use a little rain. 'Cause water means life to this high desert plain. so keep your slicker handy. It's gonna get wet around here. The Royals will soon be running, so you better stay clear. 'Cause that storm came off the mountain, gonna bring us a little rain. God's love raining down on this high desert plain. Bringing new life to this high desert plain. For me and my wife out on this high desert plain.
Oh, thank you, Doug. That was awesome. That is a beautiful song. Hey, do me a favor. Put
Yes.
your John Hancock on that guitar somewhere.
I will do that.
Kind of down here towards the bottom. We have a tendency to rub them off up there on the top because I still play that silly thing. And now it's about full. We get this one filled up, and we're gonna.
Yes,
We'll
thank you.
we've actually filled up 3 of them. One of them we gave away. So we did a giveaway during the National Finals Rodeo in Las Vegas. Had a bunch of the contestants sign it. All the artists that we interviewed all signed it, and then we gave it away. It was beautiful. It was a spalted maple, and it was gorgeous. So we had them autograph the back of it because it's too pretty to sign the front of it. But anyway, well, Doug, thank you so much for sitting down with us. This has been a real pleasure. It's always fun to get to know new people and find out your story. And it's funny because it doesn't take very long. We could actually connect the dots. We start talking about Sholo and that country. So Miss Shanda grew up right on the Deuce of Clubs, which is the town, the road right through the town, in the old Reed Head house right on the Deuce. It's the oldest house in town.
I don't. Do you?
But it's a big old red brick house right there on the Deuce, and we sold it about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago to the city of Sholo. But anyway, a lot of history there. The Reed Heads and the Cloughs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in the wrecking yard in Springerville.
Okay.
Springerville Auto Wreckers.
Oh, wow.
That was my.
Well, there's, we could, like I say, we could make the connection. But thanks again for taking the
you.
time. We appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun. Hey, for Musical Miles Podcast, I'm your host, Byron Duff, and we are here at the National Cowboy Poetry Gathering in Elko, Nevada with Mr. Doug Figgs and his lovely wife, Kathy, right? All right. Well, thanks for joining us. All right. We'll see you somewhere down the road. Adios for now.
All right.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you.